get a new one.
Yeah.
I want to get the one that says Book of Ridiculously Good Ideas.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's the best way. And Val's a great example of being on track with writing affirmations and goals and life script. And we'll have to do a class. We'll have to do a Sunday morning on life script, Pazit, writing out life script. And Val can tell us how powerful that is.
Yeah, it's a great idea. What's cool is how it just keeps changing. If you keep doing it, then you can follow yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I do it as well. It's part of my daily ritual. I do it all the time. And it's so funny because when I moved here to Miami, I had to pack up all my stuff. And I had literally one huge box, just notebooks. All my notebooks,
Right.
And it just goes to show how far. And I love it because you get to go back, sometimes instead of picking up a book, you pick up your own notebook and you go back and you read and you're like, oh my God, I did this and I did that, because you do things, you don't even realize you do them because they become so normal for you. And then you're like, oh my God, I wrote this a year ago or 5 years ago, or, and you start seeing what you're doing and what you're creating. It's unbelievable. You miss it as you're doing it because you're always going. And this kind of solidifies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're writing your story in real time.
Yeah. And then you're reading about it backwards. You're like, I created this. I created this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I think that's a really good place to start with what we wanted to talk about today, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So should we, you want to give it 7:05, or I say the people that are here, we just start on time.
Exactly. Let's go.
Let's kick it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So for this mastermind, Carolyn and I chose the subject of fear. We want to talk about fear and why people have fear before they're going to do something they've never done before. It's because when you're doing something that you've never done before, you can't see the road ahead of you. So you're very comfortable in the familiar. The familiar is what you've done up to now. Why? You already know the results. There's nothing to fear. You know exactly the results and the outcome of every decision you've taken. When you're going for a new goal, something that's higher, that you've never done before, even if it's buying a house that's $100,000 more, moving countries, anything, or leaving your job that you've had for 20, 30 years, leaving it to go become an entrepreneur. So it feels scary. Why is it scary? Because you've never done it before. So what we wanted to do today is give you the tools that you need on how you can blast through it. So Carolyn is going to share a story about how she went through it, and we're going to use her example to demonstrate on how it works.
Hey, welcome, Natasha.
Welcome, Natasha. So, Carolyn, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, so I guess one of the probably most recent, well, there's another even more recent example, but one of the more powerful examples I could probably give to the group is a personal experience. So part of my daily ritual also is journaling, life script, gratitude, and affirmations. And one of the other things that I do is visualize every single day. So I imagine what it would be like, not imagining in the future what it would be like when this thing happens. What I do is I imagine what it feels like because it's already here. And that's one of the key components of getting yourself from now to there, is imagining what it feels like already here. So what did I do? I decided I wanted to go and spend time in Florida. Florida is a second home to me. It's really, I love it there. And I decided that, when was this? This was at the end of 2017, right? So we're talking about the fall. So we had gone to see Bob in November, Bob Proctor, and spent some time studying with him for a day, which of course gets all of the creative juices in your mind going and expands everything that we imagine for ourselves. And so I said, what do you really want to do? I really want to spend some time down in Florida. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how I would do it. I didn't know where I would go. I didn't even know the location that I would be. But I did know what it felt like for me to sit by the ocean and imagine my kids coming down and, you know, writing down there for myself. So I decided that I was going to plug into just my regular morning beach sounds, which is part of my visualization. I just plug into the sound of the sea. And what I did is I sat there every single day for about 15 minutes. And I closed my eyes with the sound of the sea and imagined myself sitting by the ocean side. And I imagined having a conversation with people who were coming and going. And I imagined today's the day that I'm going to get my kids at the airport and they're going to come visit. And we're going to do this. And this is my favorite restaurant. And so I imagined what it felt like to be in it, the energy of it already having been fulfilled. So
the first, sorry,
yes,
so what we're going to do is we're going to dissect the story so you have all the steps, okay? So the first thing that Carolyn did is, she had a committed decision. That was the first step. The decision was that she was going to go to Florida. So that's one of the first components when you're creating, okay? And then the second thing is she started already to picture herself right away, you know, by the ocean sounds, on what it would feel like if she would already be there, even though it was winter in Montreal, very far from, you know, Florida weather or palm trees, you know, although everything is icy and white, she still saw Florida. She still saw the ocean. She still saw the sun. Okay, so go on.
So that was my regular routine. And, you know, when we talk about creating the life that we want, we often get in our own way because we don't know the how. That's you know, basically what happens, right? We say, how am I going to do that? And then we stop even thinking about it, or we imagine that, you know, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense what I'm doing. When I'm sitting and I'm visualizing and I'm thinking about it, what it feels like, and that's kind of your old self trying to keep you stuck. Right? It's trying to keep you in a place where you're not going to get what you want because it's your old, what we call your old paradigm, right? That's keeping you stuck in a place of saying, what are you doing? Right? And if you were to tell somebody else what you were doing, they would feed back the same thing. They go, what are you doing? What do you think? Because you're going to sit with headphones on every day and imagine what it feels like to already be in Florida, what it's just going to happen? The truth is, yes, it will actually. And so you need the faith, and you need to be very, very, you need to make the decision that that's what you want. Okay, so that's what Pazit had said. I made the decision, that's what I want. And then what starts to happen, if you believe in what you're doing, is that all the pieces, all the cooperative components, all of the how, the people, the places, the circumstances, the opportunities, they will start magically, coincidentally showing up in your path. Okay, so what happened?
Yes, I was going to say, so that's why the visualizing is so important. The visualizing and putting yourself in that position is so important, because what that does, it starts bringing that idea into life. You start getting ideas that you never had before, but those ideas never come to you until you make the decision that you're going to do it. You never worry about the how. The how only comes from the work that you're doing with your mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
And I think that's the thing where most people, this is when we say we get in our own way. We don't know what we don't know. We don't understand. And a lot of us, you know, we operate at this level where we don't know how this works, so we figure that it doesn't work. So I knew that it did, but I didn't know how it would. Mute. So all of my visualization did not take me very long. You're talking about from the end of November until mid-December. Okay, so you're looking at about 3 weeks. And what happened in 3 weeks from that time of the visualization, and the more I was in the energy of what it felt like, the more I added and painted to my picture. So I've got the headphones on. You do this however you want to do it. But I would listen, and then I would imagine myself meeting people. I would imagine myself, you know, the beautiful weather. I would imagine myself by the pool. Then I'd start to imagine, okay, well, where am I? Am I on the East Coast? Am I on the West Coast? So before you knew it, I had this beautiful picture painted of exactly what I was doing. I go to my email one morning, and I see an email in my inbox from a realtor in Florida. Okay, now I've been going to Florida a long time, and I will often plug into different realtors and their houses and whatnot just to see where I'd like to go and whatnot. But this was a person who reached out to me personally. And she sent me an email. She says, hey, Carolyn, I'm just wondering, you know, I know we talked about this a couple of years ago, but are you still looking for places like to buy in Florida? And I answered her back. I said, no, I'm not looking to buy, but I am looking to rent. I'm looking to find a place in Florida, and I want the West Coast, and this is where I want to go. Do you do that? So you see how that just showed up, where somebody else might say, oh, well, that's a coincidence. They just happened to send you an email. That's not what's going on.
Right.
So I answered the gal back. I said, I asked her if she does that. And she says, no, I don't do that, but I know somebody who does. So let me connect the two of you. So
all the thinking and all the imagining that she does, she attracted the realtor. She didn't even have to go look for the realtor. The realtor came looking for her. And Carolyn recognized that it was aligned with her vision. So it's very important that you recognize the things that are coming that are close to what you want to do. So you recognize them and then you act on them. Act on them. Answering the email is acting. So go ahead.
So, exactly. And taking action is, right, that's the piece of the puzzle. And being so aware that you're in the creative process, that I could have easily, okay, had I not been that aware of what I was doing consciously, deliberately creating, is that email would have come in like 100 others do every hour into my inbox. And I would have looked at her saying, are you still looking to buy in Florida? And I would have just ignored it. Maybe I would have answered her back and said, no, that's okay. No, I'm not ready to do that. Thanks for asking. And then I would have continued upon my day, but I didn't. So when I answered her, I answered that I was looking, not to buy, but I was looking for a place because I wanted to imagine myself there for like a month. I just need to go and write. I need to connect to the sea. So she sent me to another company, and that other company did not do that either. But then they connected me to somebody who absolutely did do it. So that whole action step and that connection to the company who actually did do it took 24 hours. It was one day, right? So I knew, I took action, and I facilitated the process through. So when I finally hear back from this other realtor who actually does rentals, I was asking him, okay, now I can see myself in Siesta Key, which is in the west coast of Florida, just around it's in Sarasota. And I said, do you rent properties there? And he said, no, but have you ever been to Venice? And I said, well, I've passed through, I've gone down by, down by the water, but I said, I've never stayed there. And he said, well, we have a property. He says, it's so funny that you should contact us today. He says, because we just took on a new client, and this is, don't forget, this is getting close to Christmas now. We just took on a new client that just gave us their property for the first season of 2018. So they said they're renting it for the season from January to April. And they said January's rented already, so we're looking to rent their property February, March, and April. Is that what you're looking for? And I said, no. I said, I'm looking for 1 month. I'm looking for the month of March, which of course in Florida is the most expensive month. Okay. I'm looking for the month of March. And he said, well, they're really looking for the season. And I said, I'm looking for the month of March. So I said, if you can get me the month of March, we have a deal. I didn't even ask him what it cost. I just knew that this was the guy and this was the opportunity and this is what I wanted. And I didn't even ask him the price. I didn't ask him anything. He sent me a video of the property. It was absolutely perfect. And so I said, can you do that? And he said, well, I have to ask my client. I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that, break up February, March, and April. I said, well, if you can do that, oh, and I want the same price as February. Because if they're a new client, they're going to be willing to get the rental. So I said, I don't want to pay a March price. I want to pay a February price. So if you can go and do that for me, you have a deal. Now, can you imagine what that feels like to just kind of let that go out into the world? You know you're on the right track, but guess what was going to happen next?
So everything is great. So this, this part is all easy, right? This part is all great. It comes, you're talking, the emails are going back and forth. You're starting to get excited by the idea. Now, where most people also stop. So most people stop at the how. The second place where most people stop is at this place right now, is where they come to the juncture where they have to jump. They either jump into the idea, not knowing how they're going to do it, or they're going to revert back to where they are. They're going to say, oh no, it's not for me. And they're going to stay exactly where they are. And they're going to repeat that cycle over and over and over for years. This is a very crucial moment. So go ahead, Carolyn, tell us what happened when he reached back to you.
So he reaches back to me, and I've thrown it out there at this point thinking, I know this was the right place for me, but again, I don't know what his client's going to say. They may say, forget that. We just want the 3 months. Find us somebody for the 3 months. So within about 2 days, he gets back to me and he says, you have a deal. And the very first thing that happened to me is I came face to face with what Bob Proctor calls the terror barrier, right? Now, I had to make a decision, because what he told me next was, oh, and by the way, since you're within the 90 days, you have to pay the whole thing now. Right? So we're looking at $3,500 US today to secure it. So the first thing I did was go, oh God, how do that? I didn't know these guys. I didn't have a relationship with them. it wasn't as if I had rented from them before, so they knew me. They didn't know me. They wanted the money to secure the property. So what did I do? I called Pazit.
So this is where the mastermind is so important, because when it comes, everything was great until the guy threw the time bomb, the amount, and the fact that she needed to do it right away. So the thoughts that were going through Carolyn's mind are thoughts that are very natural. Who is this guy? You don't know him. What, you're just going to give him your money? Are you crazy? Can you trust him? Is he going to just take your money and run? Right? All these thoughts are going through your head. Although you know that this is what you've been working on for 3 weeks. She's been working on attracting that exact opportunity. But when it came to her, instead of trusting it, she was like panicked. And this happens to everybody. This is a very natural process. Today we're using Carolyn's story, but Carolyn's story is the exact same process that you're going to feel when you're doing something. You'll recognize it. This is why we're going step by step. So Carolyn, so now you called me, and
so Pazit already knows what I've been doing. She knows what I've been, what I've been visualizing, and what I have this really strong desire. I knew that I was meant to go there by this time. I knew it. I felt it. It was part of my energy. So, and I also recognized the opportunity was right in my face. I was getting exactly what I asked for. Like exactly what I asked for. Right down to the 2 bedrooms, right on the water. I mean, it was exactly what I wanted. And yet, I was terrified. So I could have done, I had 2 choices. I could have said, oh my gosh, no, I don't have 35 US at my disposal right now, right this red hot minute. Forget it. Thanks anyway. Or I reached out, which is what Pazit and I do all the time, which is what these masterminds are for, is to be able to come in with this kind of thing and say, okay, what am I looking at here? What's really going on here? And Pazit said it flat out. She says, jump.
Yeah, I said, Carolyn, get out of your way. Get out of your way. Get out of your way. Take it. The way will come after. You can't see the whole staircase sometimes. You can only see a few steps. I said, just jump, just take it. I didn't even stay long on the phone with her. I said, call me back when you do. Just, I said, Carolyn,
go say yes. Go say yes and call me back.
Call me back when you do it.
Wow.
Right?
And then I hung up on her. I was like, I didn't want to talk more about it. Just do it. Call me back when you did it. She's like, that's it. Call me back. Go. Jump.
So I jumped. So I called the guy back. I said, we have a deal. Did I know how I was going to get this? No, I had no idea.
And also, I want to remind them, it's Christmas, it's the holidays. Carolyn's, planning, it's right, Christmas. This is the time where you're spending all your money, right? So this was like another, was like a bigger expense over all these like other holiday.
3,500 US.
Right.
So you're
the Canadian, as a Canadian for our US clients. So here she is. So now she has to come up with 3,500.
Well, about 4,500 Canadian.
Yeah, 4,500 Canadian.
Today is so that's my belief. That from the road that I can see, so imagine yourself, you're driving in your car, you know the destination, okay, but it's really foggy. So you've got your headlight on, you can only see a couple of steps in front of you, a couple of, like car lengths in front of you. I had no idea. But the only thing I knew is that it's what I was meant to do. And somehow I had to decide. So I decided, I said yes.
So she said yes. This is where the magic happens. Because the magic only happens. Yeah, sorry. The magic only happens when you make a committed decision. You can't be halfway in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's not going to happen. Eventually you'll get out. So she said yes. Carolyn, tell them what happened. When you called him back, you said yes. I
said yes. And he says, well, I'm going to send you a contract. Okay. So I said, that's great. I said, and I'm not going now till March. Okay. So in my mind, I had no idea how they operated their affairs at this company. The very first thing I did do after I said yes is that I got back in touch with that realtor that sent me to them. It's a two-guy operation. And I said, listen, you sent me to them for a reason. You recommend them. I said, I'm about to sign a contract with them. Tell me a little bit more about these guys. And she said, I'm just going to tell you one thing. There's nothing for you to be concerned about. These guys win all the awards at the Chamber of Commerce. These are two young guys who were real estate agents in Southwest Florida. They now are in the rental business. You have nothing to be concerned about. I give them my personal stamp of approval. I said, okay, but that only happened once I decided. So he sends me the contract and it says that I have to pay it all up front. So I thought, there's got to be a way. So now my mind's going into, let's figure this out. Let's put that thing on the table. So in Bob Proctor's speak, what he would do, or what I often do, is you take the challenge, like you would bring it to a mastermind in a group like this. If you're all by yourself, you take the challenge and you write it out on a piece of paper and you put it in the middle of the table. And then you walk around the table. Because what you need to do is look at your challenge, your situation from a completely different perspective. Okay, from a different vantage point. So I thought, what if he would accept a down payment on this? Because, it all happened so fast, and for him, this is found money. It's his found business, right? He didn't have to do anything to get this sale. So I asked, and I said, hey guys, I said, it's Christmas time, and I said, I'm in. I said, but would you be willing to take 1,000 US today? I'll wire it to you. And after Christmas, I will pay you the balance. And he said yes.
So you see, so the idea for the $1,000 deposit only came after she said yes. Even though they told her that they needed the whole amount today, she still figured out a way that she can make it happen in a way that would happen for her. So the $1,000 idea only came after the yes. And she reached out to them, asked them, and got it. And that's basically, see, all this Carolyn could not have seen, when she started the whole process. And this is why when you have an idea, all this is she's going through different levels of fear, right? Because so the how appeared to her. So why we're dissecting this whole fear idea is to show you that you really have nothing to fear about, because all the pieces come together. But you must take a step forward, get out of your way, and then the pieces show up one by one, like a clue, like on a treasure hunt. You get one clue, you get to point B, Point B gives you the second clue, go to point C. Point C gives you the third, goes to point D until you get to your goal.
Yeah, and part of this whole process is faith. Like when you understand that this is the unseen laws that govern us, and there's so many of them, and I think we'll do a Sunday morning on those laws as well.
Right.
When you understand that you're in the creative process and you're actually in charge of the whole thing, and you understand that you are going to face the terror barrier. Fear is part of the process. Fear is not there for you to recoil back and to stay where you are, because don't forget, every time we make a decision to do something big, okay, a C-type goal, a big goal, the only reason to reach for goals is to grow. We all are here to grow, all right? So if we're growing, it means we have to do things that we're not accustomed to doing. And the first thing that's going to show up on that path is fear. And you get to choose, are you going to let the fear keep you where you are, or are you going to use that fear to propel you forward? You have to make that choice. You can do it either way, but I knew what I wanted. That was what was most important. I was focused on my goal.
Yes, and everybody goes through the fear as well. I was just going to say that every time you go into a higher level, everybody has that fear, whether you're going from 10,000 to 100, from 100, to a million, from a million to a billion. Everybody has those fears. And this is where the mastermind comes in, because this process repeats itself through every level that you're going. Imagine yourself as if you're climbing a mountain. Each part of the mountain has its own challenge, but you still get to the top. Knowing, as you're going through it, you're like, well, I went through the last challenge, I made it, so now I can go through the next one. And now that you know the creative process, you kind of expect these things. You expect them. You're like, oh yeah, I feel like this, it's normal, I'm gonna go through it, I'm gonna sail through it. And the mastermind is where, Carolyn calls me and I just tell her, don't worry, everything's gonna come together. I reassure her. Sometimes you don't have your own belief, so you get somebody else's belief. You get somebody else who knows, who's been there, who's done things, who's jumped before, and you borrow their belief a little, until you get there. And that's why alone it's very hard to do, because alone your mind will take over and the fear will take over and you back away.
Yeah, and the mountain analogy is really, really good, because every time, when you go to climb a big mountain, right, you can't see the top. You can see from where you're at. The vantage point you have is down below. But every time you choose to climb a mountain, whatever mountain, physically climbing a mountain, it's really advisable to go up to a base camp, right? And to take it in steps. So if you're climbing the mountain, you're not going to go right up to the top. You're going to take your first jump, which is basically the first base camp. And what then you do is you kind of acclimatize yourself to the environment there until you've got to take that next jump to the next base camp, which is going to take you closer to your goal. So I took the jump, right? I got to the first base camp. I made the arrangements for the first 1,000, but then what? Well, in 2 weeks from now, after Christmas, I'm on the hook for the balance. So how am I going to do that? Right? So now I had to jump again, because I knew I was, off the hook for the moment, because I could easily access that. That was not a big stretch. That was a stretch, but not a big stretch. But to come up with another 3,500 in 2 weeks, that might be a stretch. So I did the same thing. Okay, I got to figure out a creative way of doing this, right? So I did the same process again. I put the amount of money on the table that I needed to earn, so that I could get myself fully signed up on this contract so I could lock it in. So all of a sudden, I get this idea. And it said, why don't you invite clients down to write with you? Why don't you create a retreat? Now, I hadn't thought of the retreat, but now here I was in this creative process, because I knew I loved the sea, and I knew that I could write there so well. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have clients come down? I knew that maybe my kids would be coming down and that would be good, but I was going for the full month. I had a place by the sea that worked for me, so I created a retreat.
So this is what's great. So see, the retreat never existed before. When Carolyn had the original idea, the retreat never existed before. It only came into existence once she was trying to figure out how she's going to come up with the money. Creative ways that she was going to pay for it. And so the retreat idea comes up. So take it from there, Carolyn, because then I want to take everybody's questions. So let's just roll through it. So she decides to do the retreat. She go ahead.
So
I know the story.
I go into my Kajabi account, which is where I have all of my landing pages and everything for my business. And I know it's in Venice Beach now, and so I look up Venice and I find pictures of now I've been there before, but I've never stayed there before, so I knew exactly where I was located. So I went and found some pictures and I created a landing page, and I created a retreat event, and I monetized it. And as I was doing it, I could start to see people coming to this thing. I could start to see how much value it would add to the whole, I mean, the whole thing about coming up with the money became secondary. The focus and the vision of me being in Florida and wearing those headphones every day, it was coming alive, because when I was sitting there, I was imagining going to the airport, picking up my kids, people coming and going. In fact, what was happening is I was already creating the vision of people coming down to work with me, because what I ended up doing is going back and forth to the airport. And I created this whole idea based on value. So although it started out as, how can I find a way to do this, cover costs, and give value, the whole retreat idea took on a life of its own. So before I knew it, I had this landing page. I could feel the energy of it. I was creating exactly what was going to be going on in that retreat. And in fact, I couldn't wait to get started to bring clients down. So clients started signing up. They signed up. We created a retreat together to the point where that whole month was booked. Now, booked meaning I put 4 days aside. Now, I didn't know how that part was going to go yet. Okay, so here I was taking the next leap. Okay, I've created it. I've got people, they're showing up. Now I have to make sure that they get value. So I didn't know how I was going to do that yet. I didn't know how it was all going to go. I just knew that I was doing exactly what I had to do. So I create this thing, people sign up, then I have to create the event, which is what I did. So you go into action mode, right? This piece comes, you create it. This piece comes, you create it. So you're constantly moving forward. You're not realizing how much you're growing in the whole time that you just keep like battling all the fear mongers that keep coming at you. Because I was going down to Florida. I was staying in a place I didn't know. I was going to be receiving people that had never stayed with me physically in my space before. But the whole thing was so inspired, and it was all created from visualizing it.
Right. And at the end, what's beautiful, like Carolyn was saying, see, the process repeated itself at different levels. It was exactly the same process that she had to go through. And what's beautiful is at the end, the retreat ended up paying for itself. So it really, it didn't cost anything. So that's kind of the part that you have to see. So here you are, you're worried, how's it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Meanwhile, the moment you say yes, everything came together. Now, did Carolyn know that in the end, this would happen? It would pay for itself? No, it only came by going step by step and moving forward. And so this is what we wanted to use this story out of many, many stories that we have, that Carolyn has, that I have, that we share together. And they kind of all end up in the same way. So
yeah, exactly. And the whole amount, when I was talking about being, I had to get back to these guys. So in the end, what I ended up doing is I created this landing page, and I had people sign up almost immediately. And I had enough sign up and give a down payment towards the retreat so that I could get these guys what they needed. So it was completely paid for within a month of having made the decision. And when I made the decision, I had no idea how I was going to do any of it. But when you go into action mode, and action is the antidote to fear, by the way. It's the only way to get past fear is to actually move forward, is to do something about it. So what was really interesting is, you know, while I was there, I was understanding that this was a fantastic way to work with clients. And while I was there, I got in touch with the guys and I said, I want to do this again in August. I didn't have to worry that time. I had done it. It was now I was at this new base camp. I was in a place I didn't know, but now I knew. I was working with clients and going to airports. I mean, you know, getting myself by myself down to Florida for a month, I'd never done that either. Right? I didn't know the lay of the land. I rented a car. You know, like you're creating it as you go. But then when you look back over your shoulder, like Bob Proctor always says, you know, you'll need a telescope to see how far you've come.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that I would have done that. So I knew I grew into this experience. And then while I was there, I had now done enough of it to create it again. So I duplicated it in August. And I did the same thing for the month of August. So it's really important to note that as you're moving forward, you may not know that you're growing through the process, but the only way for you to grow is to leap. It's the only way. Actually, you know what, Pazit? I want to read from...
yeah, so we wanted to read... Okay, so what's important is, how does fear disappear? Fear disappears when you have an understanding of the creative process. So once you have this understanding, you start understanding that everything that you do always has the same process. Every time Carolyn, like the next retreat that she wanted to do, she wanted to rent like a bigger place and it demanded more. So it came again and again, but now she knew the process. Now she's like, okay, Pazit. I got this. And of course, I'm always there to support her and strengthen her and push her. You know, if she doesn't jump, I push her. I'm like, just go. I know she can fly. Sometimes you need that group of people that push you. Yeah. Okay. Because you can't do it on yourself, you know? So Carolyn and I wanted to read, it was from which book, Carolyn? So Carolyn and I were always in the study. Another thing that I wanted to say, it's so important to stay in the study. It's so important to stay in groups like this. Why? Because when ideas come to you, you will remember this story. And you will say, okay, I'm going to jump. I remember she did it. I remember the outcome. I remember the process. This is familiar to me. So we're trying to make fear familiar to you, what it looks like. So read to them the thing. And I think at the end, because it's like 7:40, we're finishing today, we'd like to take like questions and here.
I'm going to read it really quickly. Valerie's familiar with it. It's a book called U Squared.
Yes, this is a great book.
Price Pritchett. Okay, U Squared means magnetizing your own value, magnetizing what you can do, right? You know, doubling, 10xing your results. So there's one chapter here that really spoke to me this week. Valerie's familiar with it. It's called Focus on Ends Rather Than Means. Okay, you don't have to know how you're going to get there, but you need to know where you want to go. It's crucial to have a crystal clear picture of what you want to accomplish. Operate with a sharply defined mental image of the outcome you seek. Rivet your attention on the spot where you are to land at the end of your quantum leap, your big jump. Visualize your arrival. And when you do that, it's like you magnetize yourself to the ways and means involved in the methodology for getting there. A solution begins to appear. Answers come to you. If you start worrying about everything that will be involved in getting from here to there, you're bound to bog down in the questions about methodology. People always get hung up on the how-to aspect regarding a quantum leap. Skip it. The answers will come to you, and when they do, you probably will find them to be simple, streamlined solutions. See, a quantum leap is a move you've already prepared to make. You just haven't done it yet. You have the potential, the resources are available, the opportunity is there. What has been missing is your decision to go for it. Maybe this will help you frame the situation a lot better. The quantum leap is something you've been keeping from happening. It's not something you have to struggle to make happen. You don't really force it into existence. You let it occur. The key is to get out of your own way. Okay, I'll just stop it there. There's a little bit more, but we can stop it there.
So I think this pretty much explains the whole process that we went through with you. So it's all about getting out of your own way, jumping and trusting and knowing knowing that this is the process and that everybody goes through it as you jump. This is all about how you create your own reality.
Okay. Does
So
anybody have any questions, any insights, anything they want to share? I know a couple of people in this group already that are making quantum leaps, right?
I would like to say that, you know, attending this morning is so meaningful to me. First of all, I love and respect the both of you. And,
Oh, thank you, Shani.
and
It's mutual.
yes, thank you. And I've been sitting on the fence on some stuff, right? And I know I am going to jump.
yay!
Yes. But it's like I say, thank you, God, for this moment, you know, that the words that I heard, what you said, and how you explained it was so well, easily explained, like it's like A, B, C, D. But it's always doing it and making the decision, right? To do it, to make a committed decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to do this. It's like I'm doing it, right? And you like Bob Proctor said, you can gauge the past, but you can't gauge the future. But just this whole process of the piñata theory, precious piñata, it happened in those steps because I didn't know the next step.
It totally did. And when you look back on it, you see it, but when you're moving forward, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can always see what you're letting go. I said this last week as well. You can always see what you're letting go. You can never see what you're gaining forward.
Right.
You can never see what you're gaining forward because you don't know the results of what you are going to get from doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Like attending this morning is God said to me. It's reassurance that it's time to jump. And I appreciate it so much. And it's, you know, I was almost in tears. I'm going, would you just do it, Charlene? Come on, you know?
Yeah. Charlene, I'm pushing you like I do to Carolyn. I'm pushing you off the cliff. Now go fly, girl. Go fly.
Yeah, not to mention Doug Dane called me, and he's we're talking on Zoom, and I had the little balls out of Precious, and I'm throwing him at the screen because he's going. I'm like, I know, like, but you know, like he just kept telling me, okay, come on, it's time to do it.
Get out of your way.
What the hell are you doing in policing? He says, I checked out your website. I checked out your project. What are you doing there? I said, I've been trying to figure that out for 24 years. but, you know, I believe the universe just, you know, you go through every step and you grow through that process, right? And
well, you could also overstay. A lot of people overstay. We overstay our stay.
That's good.
oh yeah,
That's so good.
We overstay our stay. I mean, that's just your mind telling you to comfort you, but it's not true. It's a mind fuck. Sorry, guys. I know it's early in the morning. That's what it is. That's what it is. We overstay because the fear keeps us there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. But thank
Like
you
if
so
you
much.
think back to when you went into policing, I mean, that wasn't an easy decision either. That was a big jump, right? To go into something that's so, you know, I mean, that's a quite rough terrain to put yourself into, and 25 years ago. So, you know, everything.
Yeah, but the police terrain had a lot to do with where you are today. So it's fantastic that you had to do it. That was the right path.
Exactly.
But the thing is, you don't have to overstay, you know, like some relationships or anything. You know, we overstay. We know it's done, but we overstay. And you know what I'm talking about, right? We overstay. Or a job that we no longer like, and we go there and we overstay. We know it. We're there 2 years, 3 years too many, you know?
And
but that's the power of the mastermind. When you have a group like that, you won't overstay because you know, you're going to have the knowledge. You're going to be in the study. Now, I have to tell you, when I don't study, I study like hours every day. They recommend only an hour, but because I'm like a bit of a crazy overachiever, I study like almost like 5-6 hours a day. And when I stop studying, I could tell you that I regress, even though I do it. And you have to be consistent. You have to show up every day to study, or every, you know, if you have a mastermind, at least you have something every week that you're feeding your mind.
Yeah.
But in between, you should always do something. Read a page, get a book. Always feed your mind, because the weeds of the mind grow very fast. Very, very fast.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And they take over the garden.
They take over the garden. And you wouldn't believe, even though I've been studying for years, that if I stop for 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, damn. So I never stop anymore. That's it. I never stop.
Well, I look at all the mentors. We look at the mentors that we listen to and that we aspire to be and that teach us so much. And, you know, the best thing to do is just look at what they do. I mean, if you want more, you know, in your life, it really is about expanding the way you think and thinking more efficiently and learning how all of these things work. So if the people that you admire are studying, like, you know, I look at Bob Proctor, it's I mean, there's so many, Mary Morrissey, John Assaraf, it doesn't matter who you follow, who speaks to you, they all study material, and they all have a mastermind. It's called the power of the mastermind, and that's how people come together. 2 or more people come together, sharing ideas and, you know, expanding on ideas, because, you know, you by yourself will limit yourself. And I have a mastermind with Pazit on Friday mornings, and we speak back and forth regularly. She'll, you know, bounce things off of me, but it's not like, hey, what do you think? You know, is this something you think I should do? That's not what we do. She'll come to me when she's at the terror barrier, and I'll say, it's exactly what, remember, it's what you wanted. Oh yeah, do it.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be reminded. you know, we all know this stuff, but it's, you know, we need to be reminded to do it, you know, so that's the power.
So when you're making your jump up, Charlene?
Well, when I have July 31st as the retirement date. So yeah, I've already circled that. That's my retirement date. And like even last night when I came home and I'm thinking about it, and I just said, do it. Especially like I went to the hospital. My dad was in the hospital. He had a knee surgery and he had a few other things that happened. And he's 87 years old and he's laying there. And I'm looking and I'm saying, I said, Dad, if you're my age and you know, you had all these things you were doing, what would you do? What would you do? And he said, I would go for your dream, Charlene.
Oh, what a blessing.
Life just, when you're at that age looking back, you can't go back. So
how many more clues do you want, Charlene?
How about a billboard? No.
You know what you want to do? Here's what Pazit and I did actually, because we both didn't realize we both loved Florida. And I mean, we won't go into the backstory of how Pazit and I met. That's a story for another day. But we both decided we were going to be in Florida, and we both decided we were going to be there in March. I didn't know how I was going to do it. She didn't know how she was going to do it. Yeah. Okay. But what did we do? We decided to meet at a restaurant in Naples in March. We picked the restaurant. We picked the day. This is in December. None of this has happened yet. She's decided she's moving to Florida. That was it. That was her dream. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we picked the date and we picked the restaurant and we did it. Yeah. And here we were sitting in Naples at that restaurant together saying, we did this. We created this moment. We made a decision months ago that we were going to be here without knowing how we were going to do it. But here we were sitting at the restaurant we chose on the date that we chose in Naples. So what I would suggest to you, Charlene, is to plan a retirement party for yourself.
Yeah, send the invites. Where's my invite? And by the way, yeah, what I was going to say.
You're in.
Yeah. What I was going to say is living as a creator, okay? As a kid, we knew how to do it, but then we were stripped away from it, okay? And so what happens is now you got to like practice how to become it again. But it's very natural to live as a creator. And so like anything, you only get good at something when you practice it, right? Like doctors become good because they practice it. Lawyers become great because they practice it. Each one of you are good at what you do because you've been doing it for so long that you've practiced it. You've mastered your art. And so becoming a creator is mastering the art of creation. That's all it is. And once you get it, oh my God, life becomes magical.
Yeah, magical.
Yeah. And if I could just share one more thing that might help everyone that's, you know, on the fence. Like I was talking to my son yesterday and I said, you know, God gives you a gift and he places it in your hand. So if you ignore that gift, it's like you just throw it away? Or do you say, you gave me this, I'm going to do something with this gift. I'm going to help people. I'm going to change the world because you gave me this gift.
Mm-hmm.
So how much do you appreciate the source of life has given you something very special to just say, well, I'm just going to brush it off. Maybe someday, maybe. Today's the day to do it.
Exactly. Today's the day. We're all here to free one another, right? There is a prison of the mind. That's the game of life.
Mm-hmm.
That is the game of life. And the game of life is to free yourself. And once you free yourself, you free others. That's the game.
Anybody else? Val, how are you doing? I know you've got all sorts of dreams and things, and you're making things happen.
Well, it's been a heck of a week. First of all, Charlene, I'm so glad that you're doing this because the world really needs what you've created.
Thank you, Valerie.
And I think that your law enforcement family is going to be, they're going to be such allies in what it is that you want to do, because they know darn well, just as you do, like they live in your world. They see the outcome of not dealing with the stuff that you want to deal with. So between community officers and home and school associations and parent groups and stuff like that, I think that you're going to have a very free path to where you want to go, because the people that you work with now are your credibility. They're going to be your biggest supporters and your biggest cheerleaders, because they know just as you know what the outcome of not doing this kind of work with young people is. It's so awesome. It really is.
Thank you. I'm speaking to a group of 25 doctors in a few weeks.
Yes. Oh, pediatricians, everything. Pediatricians, they can be so thick about the effects of anxiety and depression and everything on kids. They're treating physical symptoms. They're not looking at the whole person. The difference that you can make is just massive.
I don't think you'll make it till July 31st, Charlene.
I don't think so either.
But anyway, Charlene, that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
Unless
you want to make it. That's just you being safe right now.
Sooner.
Yeah.
Unless it has to do with benefits and pension and stuff, in which case it's a legitimate business decision. But you can still start upping your side gig.
Yeah, you already started your shaft.
For sure. So go you.
Who knows? Maybe they'll give you your package earlier to leave earlier.
You never know.
You could just create that, Charlene. You could create an earlier date where they just give you the package earlier. Why do you give it till the 31st? When you say, I got my package, I don't know.
Yeah.
The next month,
Write an affirmation out that says, I'm so happy and grateful that, I have a package. You can pick a date.
Earlier.
That I have a package in my hand and I'm able to create my piñata world for, to serve other people, that you have the package in your hand. Yeah. That's how you create that to happen sooner.
Accelerate it.
Accelerate it
and come back and tell us. See, that's the power of a mastermind. That's the power of the mastermind, is where we could tell you, hey, yeah, I know you have this date, but.
Okay, and what'll happen is,
earlier.
Is you'll come back and say, you're not going to believe what happened. And we'll say, what? And you'll say, they did a whole reorganization at work, and people who are close to retirement, they gave us these huge packages, and I could decide whether or not I wanted to leave now or July, and it would be the same. I'm telling you.
They had to pick one person. They had to pick one person to leave earlier. So they asked everybody. Nobody lifted their hand, and Charlene was, I'll take it.
Hey, terror barrier, right? Terror barrier. Oh my gosh, I get to leave early. Do I do it? I said July, I don't. Jump.
Yeah, well, this is how it goes, okay? So I technically I'm not set to retire till I'm 60, to get my package. So I'm going on an early retirement. So it's So it's
don't let your mind get into it, Charlene. You're overthinking it.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah, just put the date you want. Just put the date that you want and create it for the day that you want, and you'll get it. If you want it earlier, you can get it earlier. It's you who decides.
What did Doug tell you?
Doug says, well, how much do you make a year? And I told him. And he says, how many days a week do you want to work? I said, I don't know, 3 or 4, because I want more time for Charlene. And then he did the math. He says, oh my gosh, Charlene, this is how much you have to make a day. You could blow that out of the water. Really?
Exactly.
Yeah, so he's calling me again tomorrow night.
He's pushing you. He's
Oh,
pushing
yeah.
you.
Now there's no escape now. It's all over now.
No, it's so,
Got-
yeah.
You've got stuff for round 2. You're done.
Yeah, I know. And I have my little pinata balls ready. No, just kidding.
Exactly. You'll be throwing them at us.
Oh, that's funny.
So
But
maybe
yeah,
you want to decide to have your piñata party, retirement party earlier. I mean, you know, you get to choose.
I'm waiting for my invite. So we're going to wrap this up, Carolyn. I'm looking at the time here.
Yep. I just want to go over to Kim and to Maria and see if they have anything. Do you have anything any questions or anything that you'd like to say?
Power of books is amazing. So anybody writing one, I'm thinking now as we're talking about Who Moved My Cheese, and everything goes back there. And the books that I read as an adult when I was on the Battle of the Books team, One Hand, Who Moved My Cheese, they make a difference to everybody in the room, the librarian, the teacher, the kids. So somebody said, I think it's Pazit, how do you say your name? Pazit. So here's your sign. You want a poster? Do it.
Yes.
And I'll read it myself. Do it.
More like did it.
It's done. It's already
more
done.
like did it. Not do it. Did it.
Okay.
Did it.
Did it. It's done.
Maria?
Oh, hi guys. Thank you for letting me jump on. I'm so blessed to be here, and thank you for sharing your story. I have a little sick girl, so I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get on here. I just want to thank you guys for sharing, and I did have a question though, because for me, when you were telling your story, Pazit knows, you know, I have sometimes a fear like to jump, and I have a humongous idea, and when you said that you knew that you had to do a retreat, like I love retreats and I love the ocean. I'm like, you guys, I actually bought a wallpaper in my office. That is I'm in the little office that I have in my house, that because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I try to work from here because I was a teacher, and I have an entire wall that's the beach, because that's going to be my oceanfront view. Right. And, but when you talked about the clients for your retreat that you wanted to reach out, that you were going to do, did you already have people, or it was just like this leap of faith and people started to appear? Because that is probably my biggest thing. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can do. Yesterday I sat down after I had this power conversation with Pazit. It was just 2 seconds, but still I was like, okay, so I want to make this amount in the next month. And that blew me away, and I almost fell on my chair. And then I thought, okay, well, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. And I'm like, well, who the heck am I going to do this for? You know, like, how am I going to come up with these people? And when you said that, I thought, well, I guess the people will come, or you can find a way to put it out there. So that was my only question.
I have a platform for I have a business.
Okay.
A business model where I help writers become authors.
Okay.
So the retreat I created was to go and write by the sea and become an author. It was called Become an Author with Ease by the Sea. Okay. So it wasn't in finite detail yet. Like, it wasn't like I came up with an idea and I knew exactly how it was all going to go. I just had the idea. So taking action on the idea meant taking it from my head and putting it out there. Now, you know, energetically, the people that are meant to, hear that idea will show up. That's how it works. Just like the people that were meant to be on this call this morning to hear whatever it is that we were sharing together showed up. So the part of it that you want to just forget about is the how.
Okay.
So if you decided that you wanted to do a retreat, I don't know what what your business, if you have a business, with the business, like you're at home, you stay at home, you work from home. If you wanted to create something like a retreat, you could, mastermind how to put, okay, what could I do? What is it that I have of value that I can offer to other people? How can I be of service to other people? When you take your eyes off of you and you imagine how you can be of service to others, then ideas will come. They'll just come, because that's how the creative process works.
So
So if
true.
you wanted to do something, and if you set your sights on a certain revenue goal, your work is like the law of cause and effect. Your work is to create the cause, and then the effect will show up by itself. So how can I be of service? How can I serve more? What can I do to be of service to people that will help me create that revenue stream?
I like that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Maria. So that's a wrap for our mastermind for today. So at 10 o'clock, we want to thank each and every one of you for waking up and for showing up.
Showing up, yeah.
And we will be back next Sunday at 7 a.m. for all of you who want to come back and join us and find that this is of value to them. And we'll have like a new topic. We're going through like we're breaking like the different processes of things. And then like it's easier for you. So when you have ideas and things, we're all here to listen to your ideas, help you expand on your ideas. I always believe that nobody that's ever achieved success has ever achieved it alone. And so having this group as it's growing can help you grow as well, not only as an individual, but as your ideas and your companies and, you know,
So here's an interesting thing, maybe. Pazit, why don't we just give everybody here a challenge for next week? Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Carolyn, go ahead.
So think of an idea. Think of an idea that makes you that puts you right up against the fear part, the terror barrier. Think of an idea that you know you want to do, like Maria just said, you know you want to do it, but you don't know how you're going to do it. Forget that part, doesn't matter. Think of an idea that you want to take action on, that you want to jump on. Write it down and come back next week and tell us what you did to take action. One thing that you did to take action toward the goal.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun to see how because you know what, it's accountability here too. Like if you really want to move toward the goal, you need to find ways for the goal to move closer to you. It means you have to take action. That's just the way it works, or it's not going to move forward. So
no, but it's also, yeah, you use other people's minds. You use other people's minds to move an idea forward. Like maybe Charlene had the data of the 31st, but today we gave her another idea that she can move it maybe even closer. So that idea maybe wasn't there before because she was set in the date. So today we opened her mind. We've expanded her mind to, hey, what if you can get it earlier?
Right.
You know, so these are the things that you get. This is the power of a mastermind. Or sometimes we take ideas and everybody sees it from a different angle. So everybody kind of puts it together and it just kind of, it clicks.
Yeah.
So you're leveraging everybody's powerhouse to create.
So that's the challenge for next week. That's the fun part, is to see how you're going to move closer to your goal, and then come back and tell us all about it next Sunday.
So have a fun week creating, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy your week.
Thank you so much.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right.
welcome.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Carolyn.
Bye for now.
Bye.